Are you ready to walk down a path of enchantment? Dilly Dallying in Dollyworld takes you to a reality with beings ranging from angels to listeners, all sharing thoughts on divergent subjects, from desserts to messages from beyond. Dilly Dallying in Dollyworld with Dolly Howard begins now. Produced by Haggy Shack Radio's Colleen Kelly and broadcasting over the Wolf Spirit Radio Network.
Alrighty, and we are back.
Oh my gosh, I just made it. I mean, I'm still getting situated here. I had to run to go potty, and then, of course, I got sidetracked.
Well, you know, I usually have about a 4 or 5 minute song in, but this is what was in there, and I said, let's go with that one.
Oh, all right. I'm back.
Okay, breathe.
I'm breathing, yeah. I want to say to y'all out there, see how much we spoil you? Now, just yesterday, Dottie and Vanessa were saying, hey, I ran across this American Kabuki. Can you see if he'll come on your show? And here he is. And then y'all wanted him to stay for say what? And he is so good that he's willing to stay for y'all.
Well, I'm very happy that you agreed in such short notice, both to Dilly Dallying in Dollyworld.
Yep.
And say what? We are extremely grateful.
Oh, and it's my pleasure.
Thrilled beyond words. So, okay. Where were we?
The timing, you know, it was your timing of your request is really what prompted me, because it was, you know, it's one of those synchronistic things. The moment is right.
Oh, we believe in that, yeah. What made it right?
The timing.
Oh. It's wonderful. We've got angels who are working with us. I just learned this recently. One of my guests who I've had on several times because we love her, I love her, she loves me, that kind of thing. Anyway, she's an angel medium. And she taught us how many angels, well, that we have more angels than we can count, who are assigned to each of us individually. We all have all these. And that they want us to ask for their help. And so I thought, oh, well, she put that red flag out. So I tried it. My life has been completely changed for the better. And the angels just seem to be working with us so much now because we're asking. And things happen in the right time, the right place, with the right people involved. Everything involved with the people who were asking for these things. Everything is working out for the highest and best of all concerned.
All the multiverse is here to assist at this moment. We are at an amazing, amazing moment. What is being done has never been done before. And because Earth was the point of origin for this creation, everything is quantumly entangled with what happens here. So it spreads out everywhere. When this world changes, everything changes.
Wow, this is kind of exciting. I hope it works in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I don't like setting dates, but stuff is, let me put it this way, it's imminent.
Uh-huh.
And in time is an illusion anyway, but
right.
There's always I hate setting times, but things are happening.
Well, we've been feeling them.
Yeah, everybody feels them.
We've been experiencing them, and a couple of years ago, we were saying time is moving fast, very fast.
Yes,
and it keeps speeding. I've
been noticing. I look at the calendar. It's Thursday. Then there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then it's Thursday again.
Yeah, I understand that completely. Vanessa says, all for the highest good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so before we had to do break and I got all excited about my angels again, where were we? I got lost. I'm so sorry.
That question was the Spirit Alliance. Is the Spirit Alliance
Oh, yes.
same that Corey Good talks about? Yes, it is. The Spirit Alliance is it's an alliance of, I think there's over 4,000 civilizations.
Oh, wow.
So
That is a lot.
Corey Good, he was he was part of the SSP, and he has had interactions with a race of beings called the Blue Avians, and that is indeed true.
The blue aliens, are you saying?
Blue avians, like birds. Avian is a bird.
I didn't know that was a bird. Oh, okay.
The SSP is the secret space program. The SSP is made up of about 4 factions. There's the Chinese Dragon faction out of China. There is the what some people call the Bush Cabal faction, Texas camp. There is the Cheney Halliburton complex.
Are those good people, good beings?
There are good beings everywhere. There are. I don't like to label people black and white. Because, as you know from a near death, things could change instantly with anyone, even while they're awake.
Right, yeah.
There is separation in some of them. And in the case of the SSP, there's a lot of separation. There's a Lockheed Martin faction of the SSP, and there's a Boeing faction. They're all they're loosely associated with each other, yet they're more like corporations. The SSP. They're basically space corporations that are from Earth. They're multinational aerospace.
What were they formed for?
Good question. Perhaps originally as a contingency plan.
Contingency to what?
In case something happened to Earth. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. They sure kept it very quiet. And
what do they do?
They actually they're producing spacecraft.
Oh.
Most of the metallic type UFOs, not the light ones or the ball ones that you see, but the ones that we usually call UFOs, the saucer types.
Yeah.
Most of those are of your Earth manufacture.
I was wondering about that.
And there was a trade. There was they're produced off planet. The moon Ganymede is one of the big ones. There's a Ganymede portal there.
At the moon?
Yeah, the moon.
Oh, okay.
Not our moon, but it's a moon of, I forget what, Jupiter or Saturn, one of those places.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of these bodies in our solar system are inhabited with bases. There is a moon base. There's several moon bases. Most of them are on the backside. The moon seems to be hollow as well. Corey Good has done. I mean, Corey Good really opened up the door for all the Spirit Alliance stuff. Because I really didn't have a whole lot of interest in even covering this until Denise came along, and I knew that she really did have legitimate ET contacts. I was a little cautious at first. But yeah, Corey Good, he represents that faction. The Blue Avians, they're a race of beings that look like birds. And then there's the SSP. So that's the groups he deals with. I don't really deal with those groups directly. Sometimes
And so what, on a daily basis type thing, what does this SSP do? Just build the vehicles?
Well, they had a some of the bases they had taken people, Earth people, and they convinced them that they were in a special program that was going to, they were going to go to this base, and a lot of them were taken under false pretenses. They were taken to these bases and told that they were going to be the survival plan for Earth, okay?
Oh.
And then they were told that, Earth got destroyed and they're the only ones living, so they wouldn't want to go back. And essentially they were slaves, that's what they were. And because they had no choice, they had no freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And Corey Goode was one of those. Corey Goode, he did some amazingly brave things. And, my heart goes out to him for what he's done.
Did he escape, or did they let him go?
I think probably a little of both. There are people in our work we have noticed within the banking work we did that there are people in the agencies that quietly help, usually unseen. Sometimes they'll just drop a hint with a one-time email about something that needs to be looked at that can't be traced. Mm-hmm. We've seen that time and time again in our work, in really good information, but a lot of times we don't really know exactly where it came from or who.
Right.
But they're there, and the Galactics are embedded in all those agencies as well. What people call the starseeds.
Yes.
And then there's another group of beings called what we call in our work the universals. Now, a universal, I should define that term.
Yes.
Universal it's kind of like an ET that can go anywhere. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Any energetic, any realm, any planet.
Just by thinking about it, they can be there?
Yeah, but they're not exactly angels.
Ooh, what are they?
They're universals.
Oh, I see.
Their purpose is to help out and be unseen most of the time. And they do that, and a lot of them are embedded into these agencies covertly. And they do an amazing job. And who they are and what they are won't be known until it's all over.
Oh.
And I met a policeman, for example, in Morocco. I was out on a walk, and he stopped me and started chatting to me. And he identified himself as being with he showed me a badge. He said he described it as the Moroccan FBI. And he was a really nice guy. He was about my age. And had a baseball cap on and gray hair. But when I looked at his eyes, his pupils were diamonds. I'd never seen a diamond shape, or almost like a square turned on edge,
Uh-huh.
And I thought, that's remarkable. I was astounded. I had never seen a being I've seen people with almost like lizard eyes or something, but I'd never ran into one that had diamond-shaped eyes, So I've seen a lot of really unusual things.
So you've seen the lizard eyes?
Yeah, you see them briefly in some people.
Yeah?
I want to clear up something that kind of bugs me.
Okay.
All humans are vehicles for essence, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And these people that people call reptile humans,
mm-hmm.
they are human as well. They're human. They are genuine human beings, but they do have what we call a Draco essence, okay?
Uh-huh. That sounds like Simon Parks.
But they're just as human as you and me, and it's absolutely insane to create a new kind of racism based on what the essence origin is,
Uh-huh.
It's all sourced in the end anyway, It's just a different frequency of being. Originally, there was 11 original essences, and then those 11 essences created another 100. So there was 111 root essences, which gave, in mathematical terms, they gave 111 factorial combinations, which is a huge, huge number.
Yeah.
You have to Google 111 factorial to see how big that number is. But that created the variety of personalities and beings and traits and skills that we see in the universe. It's that combinations of, you can think of them as frequencies, like colors in the spectrum. And the Dracos originate to actually two particular beings, or one in particular. And the question here is: are the avians real beings or Mylub construct? They are real beings, from my understanding. The blue avians are indeed real beings.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, the part I differ with Corey Good is some of the embedded fear that is in his, kind of hinted at in his stuff. Mm-hmm. And in that part of that may be because of his background. And in the, I don't know, I just have a different perspective on some of the issues than he does. So I don't go out there bashing him. He's done a lot of good.
Mm-hmm. You think his fear is coming from what he's lived through in fear?
Yeah, well, if you're abused,
mm-hmm.
if say you're an abused woman, you're going to fear men, right?
Right.
It's that kind of a thing, a lot of these guys that have been in these really deep covert programs, the penalty for revealing it was death. So mm-hmm. you got to look at that and look what he's done. And actually, his best friend, anonymity will get you killed. By him coming forward, mm-hmm. he actually protected himself. And the energies have changed so much that even the way the whole calculus of what could be done to humans and got away with, that has changed. Where now, if a being does what they used to do to humanity, there's a direct energetic consequence to the being who instigated it. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And so that's why you've seen a lot of, this is my belief, that's why you see a lot of false flags with actors. Because if they can cut down the actual casualties of what goes on, they think they escape the energetic consequences, but yet they're still generating fear, so they really don't escape that consequence of terrifying people,
Uh-huh.
But I think that's why you've seen so many things that are having crisis actors when it's actually cheaper to actually really kill people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you want to create fear, why are they creating crisis actors? Well, the reason is these people who are ordering this know that since they're in authority, they think they can skirt the energetic consequences of what they're doing. But, Source knows it all. And they're choosing to take on the results of what they're planning. And, the situation is such that it almost cleans up itself because they'll just cease existence if they keep doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're running scared right now.
Yeah, they're just very, very frightened.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be honest with you, a lot of the rhetoric about, for example, you have in the financial systems, you have the Chinese dragons, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're trying to do what they call a financial reset and currency reevaluation. And then you've got another faction that they call, what is it? You know Benjamin Fulford?
No.
Okay. He talks about, he calls them the Khazarian Mafia or the Cabal or whatever these terms. There's no number of different names. But what they really are is they're another faction of Draco essences. They're the Draco that originated from Orion, and the ones that have been running the Western financial systems. But they are always the frontmen proxies for the Chinese dragons, who are also Draco essences. So it's really an inter-Draco skirmish going on.
Oh.
You can think of it as a management consolidation.
Yeah.
And so but frightening these beings is not helping the situation. You know, they're getting very desperate. And you don't cure this kind of thing by destroying beings, you know. You don't end separation with more separation. You end separation with pure love. That's the only way to end it. It's kind of like a Chinese finger trap, you know. You pull on it and your fingers get locked in more.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of what's going on. But it's all unwinding now. We hit a tipping point last week, and everybody wants it over. And
what was that tipping point?
It was an agreement between the beings representing all the parties at the table, and it's over.
So when you say it's over, what does that mean?
It means that nobody is trying to keep it going anymore.
Nobody's trying to pretend that they aren't what they are, and
well, there's probably still be a little bit of posturing here and there, but there is no high level galactic support for any shenanigans anymore. That doesn't mean there's not still middleman still operating from the old orders or some lower level minions doing things, you know. What happens kind of in some of these, in the systems on Earth were so compartmentalized, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you think of it from it's like the governments themselves are compartmentalized, and they're like a disassociated personality, you know, if you in human terms. And
okay.
Doesn't know what the right does. There's all kinds of things going on, and so there, you know, there's a little bit of chaos right now, and you're seeing it play out in Turkey. You're seeing it play out in France, and you know, all these countries are broke, and it's coming down.
Heck, we're broke.
Yes.
They just pretend they have money.
Yeah. Well, money was always about extracting energy.
Yeah. Because we don't really, that stuff they call money isn't really real.
No.
Oh, hey, I'm not doing my job here.
It was a way of extracting energy. Basically, they monetized human beings is what it really was.
Yes.
And you know,
we are worth something to them.
From birth certificates to prison bonds to court bonds to everything was monetized. Everything was a business plan. Everything was corporate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. The question about Tolek's event, I'm not. The event is. I'm not sure what Tolek describes the event as. I know what Cobra describes it as. This event is not one event. It's multiple events that are ongoing. And the event has been rolling since last summer. So it's not one gigantic event, although there will become a moment when it becomes so clear to all that it's over, you know. And it's not going to be done with force per se. It's going to be done through the heart, and it is being done through the heart. That's what you're feeling.
So just all of a sudden, one day, everybody's going to know it. Yes,
and there's the Source has collected all this information and all this history and everything that was ever done and said and invented and created. It's all in Source. And what happens, this is my understanding, what happens next, is that everyone has access to that information and the full context of why everything was the way it was, why they experienced what they did, and just exactly who they are, because, most of the planet thinks they're victims. And that's a convenient state of mind to keep people in, because then you can act as their savior, or you can act as, giving them a few privileges here and there. And some, when you're really not sharing the true abundance that this planet has. And so nobody's a victim here in the end, really, when you understand the complete, 100,000-foot view of it all.
Yeah.
And all the we're going into what's going to amount to a gigantic galactic party. And I've been told this party is going to last for 1,000 years.
Okay.
And you've got the best.
So it'll be like the Bible says, 1,000 years of peace.
Well, the peace will last much longer than that. There are many scriptures of many faiths, but that hint at all this. I'm not going to isolate the Bible versus the Koran or the Buddhist writings or the Hindu ones.
I just know the Bible. I don't know the others.
They're all, there's hints of this in all of them, but all of the, at least in the instance of the Western religions, and it's pretty much true of all of them, they were all created not to ultimately tell people really, truly what is happening here, but to hide it. They'll enlighten people one way if you have a certain bent in one direction. They'll enlighten you to a certain extent but they won't tell you none of them will tell you the complete story. Because, especially not anyone that destroys what they perceive as a hierarchy running things. The Source is one, it's not a hierarchy, it never was a hierarchy. But there's been an illusion of a hierarchy been installed for the sake of experiencing separation. That is, angels are real beings, I will add that. They are real beings.
Oh, I know.
And angels do not look at humans as being lower beings. They do not.
Right.
They see it all as one. Angels know it's all one. And there are beings who have been condescending of human beings as being a lower being. They say there's two types of incompetence. There's incompetence by design and incompetence by choice of being ignorant, And on this earth, most of the incompetence has been by design. Everything's been hidden. And multiple layers of, where the lie is different at every level.
Right.
And so.
Vanessa, she said there was no date but event that would bring on the change. She just wanted to make that comment. And
it's a kind of a rolling event is the way I would describe it. You're going to see the galactics very soon in the skies. The main reason for that is, the factions on Earth fighting over who was going to be the selected one of the galactics to roll them out, whether it was one faction, the SSP, or the other, or is it Russia, or is it China, or is it the U.S.? They're all just going to come out at once.
Yeah, really, what does it matter who does, as long as they do it?
And it's been bottled up for 70 years. They had 70 years to complain. They didn't, And so now it's rolling out. And it's time. And most of them, 80% of these beings have arms, legs, and a head just like us, In the case of the Andromedans, the Pleiadians, the pre-Draco Orions, which are called the Orion, they all look like us. They're very, very human-like. There's some different features, but they all are very human. The Lyrans, in the Lyran system, there are humanoids, Lyrans, and then there's also some feline beings. I mean, almost every kind of being you can imagine exists, or has existed. Some no longer exist, but
Oops.
what's
I
that?
copied the
You want to
same
read
thing
that?
Colleen. Yeah, hold on. I copied the same thing Colleen did. Well, Rack had a question.
Aliens on Antarctica.
Yeah.
There was an intel base in Antarctica that was shut down. And ever since then, everybody and their cousin has been making a trip down there. He was sitting on the Russian Federation territory. You know, it was an intel base that all the intel agencies fed. And basically everybody was given vacation vouchers to stay home.
Jeez.
But that's what I'll say about that for now. There's a number of portals down there. Apparently there's a Nazi base down there too.
I was going to ask that.
But you can research the connections to the Nazis.
JP's into the Nazis. So when I hear Nazi, my ears perk up because I want to hear.
Yeah,
because of JP's interest.
What they call a Nazi, the Project Paperclip people. It's the same beings, you know. They're part of the SSB.
What? You went out. You faded out.
The Nazis are part of the SSP. You can call them by different labels.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually corporations. Some of them came out of the German era. The Germans had the most advanced scientists at that time, so they were a bit ahead of people elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're all humans. You know, everything's.
Do you think some of those Nazi scientists? Do you think some of those were otherworldly? I don't know how else to say it.
Well, I know what they call the Vril women. They were an E2 race of beings. They were some of the ones that channeled some of the original information for the ships. There was some Pleiadian involvement, and I think it was rogue Pleiadians. But I don't have a whole lot of data exactly on what was involved there. There's so many questions to ask. I ask questions that are of interest to me at the moment and maybe the work I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
And then sometimes I'll find a trail that I'll follow. But it's very difficult to ask all the questions that there are about this. And everybody shortly is going to have access to all the data anyway. Once they land, once they are visible and interacting with humans here.
But I want to know now.
Yeah.
I'm a now person. We had another thing here. Matt Man says, all realities coexist. Yes, we are the higher beings as well.
This is higher is a term of separation. There are beings that were created first in sequence. And there were beings that, like the original essences were, some people call them creator sons, I guess. They weren't God as most people define God. I mean, I would define God as source. All that is.
Yeah.
To me, that's the definition. If you want to use a phrase for God, that's what I would describe as God.
I agree with that, yeah.
There are creator beings who have tremendous creative ability. And they have embodiments. Especially the original 11, seem to have existed in every realm simultaneously at one time or another. Sometimes they go out of form for a while. There was another 100 essences that we call the second wave of creation. They were kind of the ones that became the gods of myth, the ones you know about, like Zeus and Horus, and there's the whole panoply of these beings like Ganesha, of India. There really was a Ganesha. These beings they're all real beings. They went away for a while, and worked different realms, or so those beings were there. Some of them are not in form anymore. There were some that wanted to stop the changes, and Source took them out of form for a while, and you might say they're sitting on the bench for now.
Okay.
And they'll come back. They'll come back in form later on. But nothing was going to stop it. Source has going, And, you don't want to get in the front of that wave.
Yeah, no. Debriel says, I would also like to hear more about the feline beings, if he has any more to share on them.
I don't know a whole lot about them. I do know, I know some of them are incarnated as humans now here. They are a very courageous group of beings as an existence. They walk on two legs. I've heard that they tend to look like the big cats, the lions, the tigers, those kind of animals. They seem to be the higher predator felines, and they have ships. And they're very spiritual beings.
So they don't live on Earth?
They living on Earth. They're on the spheres. They're not currently walking around the Earth yet, but they will. That's coming. But they're not anything to be afraid of. They're bipedal, and they have fur, and they are cats. It's a choice of existence.
I like cats. I love my girls. I have 2 cats.
Oh, I love cats too. They're great.
Planet Lupa wants to know, what is Terran's view on AI?
Ooh, yeah.
That opens a can of worms, doesn't it?
I can tell you what I know about it. The whole AI hysteria was a final scheme by the Dracos who wanted to extend control to generate fear. And there's a simple fact that no artificial intelligence can ever supersede consciousness and awareness when you truly understand what consciousness and awareness can do. And the AI is, to me, mostly a scare tactic. And there are artificial intelligence programs. Google's got them. On the iPhone, you've got the Siri that answers questions for you. But coming as a programmer, to me, they're programs, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not truly sentient. Sometimes they do really stupid things. They're generally a combination of conventional computer programs, the old style AI programs which are essentially process lists of information, go through lists and find things. And then there's another one called a neural net, which mimics in software what brain neurons do, which are pattern recognition. They can do amazing things with pattern recognition, neural nets, that, recognize faces and things. And that's what neural nets are really good at, is recognizing patterns. And then what they've done is they've combined these different software techniques, including what they call genetic algorithms, which use evolution to solve really very difficult problems that don't need a perfect solution, but just need just need a good solution,
Mm-hmm.
So all these techniques have been used, and that's collectively amalgamated under a big HAL 9000 scare word called AI. And, and then they tell you that, you're going to chip and implant you. But the truth is, everybody on this planet was chipped and implanted at one time. And the data was sold off-world. So, as far as implanting, that's old news. The implants have been turned off, except for anybody who wants them voluntarily, and with the starseeds that are working with their own home races. But it's scare tactic, in my opinion, and I say that as someone who I've been doing IT work since '82, and I've worked on the internet, and I've worked in some of the most complex systems on Earth. It's overblown. There are ships that are sentient. The Galactics have what you might think of as computers that are crystals, but those crystals are sentient and can be interacted with directly with consciousness. So, to me, AI is like somebody, compared to what's really out there with the Galactics, it's like being scared of a Model T,
Okay.
When you understand,
so you don't think they'll ever come and they'll ever take over the humans?
No way. When you understand what you are and what you can do, as long as you stay in a pure love frequency, it's astounding. And, everything is source. If you understand that basic baseline, that everything, including the walls, the floor, the computer even, is source. And it can be interacted directly with consciousness. You can change things.
I completely agree with that. Nancy's been preaching we make our reality for quite a while now.
Oh yeah, we do. But you can actually, they proved it with quantum physics on a small scale. But, everything is source and you are a source. But the difference with you is you are a particularly special instance of ascension, instance of source that is observing all this and interacting with it. And that has a grander effect on things than, say, maybe a rock, which is also source.
Right.
And so, never underestimate what you can do.
Absolutely.
Yes. Some other questions here.
TJ says, me think we causing most of troubles ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The battle with, we've externalized what people call the dark and the light. And these things exist within us. And we just have to face it, embrace it, and harmonize it.
Yeah.
The only way you can harmonize it is in pure love. And accept that you have the potential to do awful things. You have the potential to do amazingly good things. And you can't abstract it out into one single evil entity out there. All of us have seen people who are very good do some incredibly bad things,
Right.
And everybody on this planet is things that they don't want to admit they've done and would deny it if somebody confronted them, but they know. And so this labeling is pretty fruitless. It doesn't mean I like what some of these beings who are known as dark do. I don't. But,
I like what you say, that love. You're saying love conquers all.
Exactly. And it's the most powerful, when you really understand it, it's the most powerful force in the universe.
Yeah.
And we've been taught, and that was part of the whole thing. Like, for example, you take, people involved with magic systems. Okay? They know a little bit about how the universe works, but it's kind of a cookbook way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And these cookbook recipes that they work with, they pay a royalty to whoever created the ritual or the cookbook,
Right.
They pay a royalty of energy back to whoever came up with the original version of whatever they're doing.
Right.
So it's kind of like a patent system, I guess. But they don't, they trivialize love. They put mind and willpower as the most important thing, and not the heart and not love. the heart is intimately related with love. That's where, that in the nucleus of each cell is where your connection to source is. In the heart being the magnetic center of your body. And that's where this pure love from source comes through. And you can, I've seen people healed via it. I've seen amazing things by,
Yes.
This pure love energy. And these magic people, I've seen people who have dealt with them, and these magic people don't know what to do because they don't know what to do with the frequency.
Yeah.
And it just discombobulates them, sometimes makes them ill because they consider it a weakness to show love.
Uh-huh.
And that was by design, so that all that stuff could be let go with true love and pure love,
Yeah.
And just, you see that it's like when you're using a decrepit tool,
Uh-huh.
from the 1800s, maybe a wooden rake,
Uh-huh.
and you find out that maybe, it's better to use a gas-powered rototiller to do your garden. Which you're going to choose, So, and that's not to, I don't want to label people who have those beliefs, but that is not really true creation, what they've been doing. They've been manipulating energies and manipulating people, but not truly creating. They were doing a kind of a cookbook creation, I suppose.
Right.
But
I want to get to one last question because we're getting to the top of the hour. Mattman says, would you agree that the bottom line is to take responsibility, reclaim sovereignty, and work with Source to co-create the best reality for all? And then he said, one perspective of all that is.
Oh, sovereignty. That's an interesting word. The sovereignty relates to the word king, reign. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it has a connotation within the word itself and the energy of the word of a hierarchy. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really like the word. What I would say, it is our bottom line to take responsibility, and it's our bottom line to reclaim oneness in all. And sovereignty is so full, and the sovereignty movements are so infiltrated, from the days of the Freemen in Montana, that was infiltrated by the FBI from day one. And all that stuff, they know how to deal with people who have guns, because they have more guns.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not dismissing anybody who has been acting from their heart in the way they know how. I don't mean that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go up with guns against people who have bigger guns and tanks, you're going to lose,
Right.
But you can, I have seen, the image that comes to mind of that Chinese guy in Tiananmen Square, where he stood in front of that tank.
Oh my gosh, yes.
To me, that was one of the single bravest things I've ever seen on this earth.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And, one man, I mean, he could have been run over, but something about that individual's heart stopped that driver,
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't force. It wasn't a bigger tank that stopped him. It wasn't an armor-piercing shell that stopped him. It was that man's heart that stopped that tank.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that guy got killed later.
I heard that too.
But I mean, just that image alone,
Mm-hmm.
don't ever forget that,
That's embedded in my...
And so, I think when you stand in the truth of who you are, as, you are source, or some people call I am consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You are all, and when you stand in the energy of all, in pure love, all of the universe comes together in that moment through you to create what needs to happen.
Amen.
And that could be a hard thing to wrap your head around. And because we have looked so externally from ourselves, we've extrapolated gods and goddesses and hierarchies and, this or that government's going to save us, or this or that movement's going to save us,
Wrap it up quickly.
Yeah, so.
I have to turn you over to Nancy and Colleen.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much what I feel about, we need to take responsibility and reclaim oneness.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on at the last minute.
Well, you're welcome. It's been fun.
I'd love to have you back.
Okay.
We'll have to set up another time.
All right.
Okay, y'all. I thank you for coming and listening. Thank you for participations. I think that we've all enjoyed listening to Terran. And he's not done. He's staying another 2 hours on Say What? With Nancy and Colleen, and I don't know who their guest host is today.
Emily.
Oh, Em! How cool is that? Can I stay?
Yes, I was thinking that I'll just leave this group up and then add Nancy and Em to it. That's just a lot more simple.
Okay.
First, though, I'm going to put on your outro, and
Okay.
then I'll play a piece of music while I'm getting things set up and give you both time for about
A little break.
Yeah. And that way I'm not, going crazy, too.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to do, if that sounds okay with you, Terran.
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. All righty.
Thank you all. I love you.
Love you all.